Sup, homies? My name is Mike S, and I'm going to show you guys today a GitHub repo that netted $3 million. A little backstory. The United States Department of Defense, DARPA in particular, held an event that concluded in August 2025, and this event paid out $10 million in prizes. The top prize went to Team Atlanta. They netted $4 million. But the second place prize was $3 million awarded to Trail of Bits, who submitted a product called Buttercup. Now, Buttercup is, as I mentioned, open source, and you can pull it up just going to GitHub, Trail of Bits, Buttercup. You'll see they had 14 contributors, so 3 million divvied up among 14 people. Not a bad deal. And basically the high-level deconstruction of what they did, they created what they called a cyber reasoning system. And in effect, they looked at open source projects, whether that be a Java or C++ project, and then they checked using AI whether or not the project had any vulnerabilities, and then they patched it all in real time. A lot of the heavy lifting for this project was done via this orchestrator. So the orchestrator, the directory for orchestrator, but the corresponding workers, they basically executed all the various tasks. In effect, there were 3 groups of tasks. One task or one component was the fuzzer. The fuzzer component ran intelligent fuzzy campaigns. It's built on top of Google OSS Fuzz, and I can pull up Google OSS Fuzz here. I forked it. It's, as I mentioned, it's maintained by Google, and a repo that was leveraged in the fuzzer component. Now, after fuzzer was identifying the fuzzy campaigns, the program model actually ran code query and tree sitter. So this is the program model, and it ran code query and tree sitter in order to determine if there were in fact any vulnerabilities. And then finally, the patcher, this component, actually unleashed all the various agents required to patch any of the vulnerabilities detected. Now, you can run this project from your local machine. You're going to need 10 gigs of RAM, but you can go ahead and clone it. I actually did clone it, but building it required that I configure or assign 10 gigs of RAM specifically for the project. So I didn't want to get too far in the weeds. Another thing you're going to have to do in order to build it, you're going to have an Anthro API and a OpenAI API key. You're going to need both those keys. You're going to need to have 10 gigs of RAM available. You're going to have Docker installed. But once you do those things, you can go ahead and import a C++ or Java project into Buttercup and actually see it work in real time. So what I did was I actually created a public C++ repo for the game Minesweeper. And so in order to test Buttercup, I created this C++ version of Minesweeper, and I gave it an exploit just to see, really at the end of the day, what type of effort is required to have a successful repo. Now, there's additional interest that I had in this project. One thing is I created a product called Clipception. It's clipception.xyz. So I created clipception.xyz. I'll link it in the, as well as the Buttercup repo. I'll link them both in the YouTube description. But I created this project, and what it does is it takes in a stream and it finds the most viral moments. Now, if you were to look at the GitHub for this project, Clipception that is, you'll see I actually did a multi-agent approach, not unlike what they did for for Buttercup. In particular, if you go to Clipception, the GitHub for it, and you go to the multi-agent branch, you'll see that in the non-Mac version directory, I have an orchestrator, not unlike what they did. And I do have 3 different agents that are managed by the orchestrator. Obviously, what they did was far more sophisticated, and of course, netted them $3 million. But it was just something that, I wanted to look into a little bit deeper to see what it takes to, let's say, level up a product that I created that leverages multi-agent workflows to something that would be far more sophisticated, that, for example, the US government would be interested in, et cetera, et cetera. But that was kind of like my deep interest. Outside of the fact that they were awarded so much money for this, I was also interested in this multi-agent development branch. So if that's something you guys are interested in, if you want to see me run Buttercup, I've come to my stream or leave a comment here. And maybe I could do a follow-up video where I actually run it and patch up that Minesweeper project. Outside of that, as I mentioned earlier, I stream on Twitch daily, 1 to 5. Come by and hang out. All right, peace, homies.